6 more days from now will be Veterans Day. And our chapter is proud to have 53 members who are veterans who are receiving a lifetime membership to our chapter. I'd like to read off the names of them, starting with Air Force. We have 9: Ronald Amolet, Benjamin Augustine, Clarence France, Sam Galusha, myself, Jerry Loftus, Marianne Nemchek, Richard Portland, Doug Wilkie, David Durfee. We have 29 members from the Army. They are George Behrens, Jerome Bishoping, William Crowley, Stephen Deere, Richard Fallon, Chris Giordano, Elzeth Harris Jr., William Johnston, George Carafa, Alan Killenbeck, Jim Knopf, Ronald Mack, James McLean, Jose Padilla, Sheldon Potter, Bernie Sampson, Ronald Staddy, Victor Vinke, Ryan White, John Kupinger. We have one person who says he's from the Coast Guard, Carl Bloss. We have 2 Marines, Robert Johns, Maureen O'Reilly. We have a whole bunch of Navy, Frank Amarin, Harry Allrend, Wayne Brooks, Daniel Garland, Art Hurst, John Kelly, Keith Main, Eugene Maripes, Jeffrey Mason, Jerome McElroy, Ron Smith, Thomas Zachman. And we have 9 people who we don't know what service they are in, but we're glad they joined us. Edward Carmen, Bob Freely, Nicholas Graver, George Howard, Amy Budzinski, Will Moore, Frederick Potter, David Scherf, and David Whitlock. I don't know if I mentioned David Durfee from the Air Force. He just recently joined. So I thank those people who joined our chapter. If you know anyone, veteran who has hearing loss, they can join our organization for a lifetime membership for free. So I appreciate that. Getting into our program today, we're honored to have Jeff Klein from the Veterans Outreach Center, who will give a speech. Jeff served honorably in the Navy from 1987 until 2009. He served at Ground Zero after 9/11, earning the Defense of Liberty Medal with World Trade Center device. He's a retired Roads Patrol Sergeant, serving with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office as a deputy, investigator, and sergeant for over 21 years, where he retired as the supervisor of the Community Services Unit. Jeff spent several years volunteering in his children's schools before joining the Veterans Outreach Center as a residential case manager in 2019. He founded and organized, quote, "They Stepped Up to the Plate," unquote, where he seeks to honor surviving members of Negro League Baseball. He received the U.S. congressional recognition for his efforts. Jeff lives in Mendon, New York, with his wife and 3 children, where he was elected to the Honey Eye Falls Lima Board of Education and served as president of Honey Eye Falls Mendon Rotary. He also coached youth baseball for 9 years. He is an avid hiker and an Adirondack 46er, which means he's climbed all 46 of the highest peaks in New York State. He enjoys spending time with his family, hiking, camping, and attending live music concerts. Without further ado, I'd like to introduce Jeff Klein from the Veterans Outreach Center. Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate it. Thank you for yours.
Well, that's a perfect segue into what I'm going to be talking about today. You guys have a lot of veterans in your organization, so I'd like to thank all the veterans for their service. I'm going to be talking about the Veterans Outreach Center today and the services that we provide, and I believe there's a PowerPoint. So I retired from law enforcement back in 2015. I was going to ride the year out, and my wife said, "Why don't you retire before Thanksgiving?" So I did. I retired the day before Thanksgiving, 2015, and then I just started working on house projects, volunteering in my kids' schools, and just catching up on all those jobs that you neglect because you're gainfully employed. Did that for about 3 years. And a friend of mine who was on the sheriff's scuba team with me invited me to lunch one day to visit him and his new place of employment, the Veterans Outreach Center. So I went to lunch, went to the Veterans Outreach Center, and I was happy in retirement. I had no intentions of working. I collect a pension. I was loving. I actually got a job in the schools as a paraprofessional, and I joined the school board. And I told him I'm happy. I'm not looking for a job. And he said, well, just come and check it out and see what you think. And he took me, and I just immediately fell in love with the mission. And especially when I went and visited Richard's house, which is our homeless shelter. And I ended up applying for a job. I started as this is back before, well before COVID, when everybody wanted to work and jobs were hard to get. I applied for a job as a maintenance man. I worked that for about 2 weeks before I got promoted to residential case manager at Richard's house. And at Richard's house, I had an opportunity to become the lead case manager there, and then ultimately became the residential operations manager, overseeing the house, and we can house up to 54 homeless veterans. I did that for about 4 years. I did it for 2 years. I had an opportunity drop into my lap. My dad was a retired firefighter from the city of Rochester. He moved to Florida shortly after retiring, and then he experienced some health issues later on, and we built an addition on our house, and we moved my dad up to live with us. But unfortunately, that didn't last long. He passed away shortly after moving in. But while he was with us, he did have to leave to go to a nursing home. He required about 14 to 16 hours a day of care, and he left for the nursing home. And while he was in the nursing home, I saw some really, really good care, and I saw a lot of not really good care. I decided um, this opportunity became available to become a director at a nursing home here in the city, Gardens. And I took it because I wanted to try to make a difference for some of the people in the home. I did that for about a year, and obviously that's emotionally taxing as well. But I really missed working with veterans, so an opportunity came for me to go back to Richard's house. I took it, and I've been back with the VOC now since 2022, sorry. And I had another opportunity to join the wellness program and move campuses. We have two campuses. We have a North Campus and a South Campus, and I'll explain all of that. That's actually a picture of North Campus where I work. You can't see it in that photo, but off to the right, there's a house attached to the building. It's called the Morale Center, and that's where my office is located. So my passion, besides my wife and kids, my passion is the outdoors. And um, I have a vision to try to get a group of veterans on top of a mountain. And the only way I could see that come to fruition is for me to take this job as the wellness programs manager for the VOC. So I did that this past March, and that's where I am today. And the job that I'm in now is how I got to meet Susan and get invited out to present to you guys. So without further ado, I will, and if you have any questions, I don't wait till the end. If you guys have any questions as I'm going through the PowerPoint, please just let me know. Is it the top button? Or is that the right? Okay. Yes. Yeah. That is part of what I'm going to tell you. But yes, Richard's House is it's a veterans homeless shelter where we can house currently we can house 54 veterans, but very soon we're doing a renovation on the building next door, which is called Auto House. And we're going to be it's going to transition to a female homeless shelter because right now there's currently not any place for women to go, women veterans to go, except for, a female only, but not there's no female veteran specific. So they're going to transfer Auto House into housing for females, and right now it's got 8 apartments in it. It's four studios and 4 one-bedrooms, and they're currently they're doing asbestos, getting rid of asbestos that they found in the basement while they were tearing that apart. And then shortly we'll be able to house women veterans. So ultimately we'll be able to house 46 male veterans and 8 women veterans in Auto House. Do you want me to just say, okay, yeah, next slide. Next slide. I'll have to read this. So our mission is to serve veterans with compassion and advocate for all who have worn our nation's uniform so they can rise and live life to the fullest. RISE is Veteran Outreach Center's acronym. It stands for Respect, Integrity, Service, and Excellence. And all of our employees are expected to live by those ideals all day long, every day, even when we're not at work. And right now, we are currently we have got about 50 employees, and we are in a really, really good position right now with the employees that we have. And I believe everybody that works for the VOC isn't doing it because it's a Monday through Friday 9 to 5 job. They're doing it because they really want to help veterans succeed in life. And we serve everyone from, I mentioned homelessness, all the way down to a veteran who's attending college and doesn't have Wi-Fi in his apartment and just comes to our organization to utilize our Wi-Fi and everything in between. And I'll tell you some of those services as we go. It's been around for over 50 years now, and it was started by a group of Vietnam veterans who came home from the war and realized that it started as a coffee group, a few guys hanging out, realized that there was nothing in the Rochester area to support veterans coming home from the war. So they founded the VOC, and now we've been running strong now for 50 years. That's our that's our that's our motto right there: respect, integrity, service, excellence. I believe if you ever step foot in the doors of the Veterans Outreach Center, everybody that you encounter will treat you with all 4 of these values in mind. So the programs that we offer at the Veterans Outreach Center, we have a supportive services team they're our front line. When a veteran comes in, the first thing they do, they walk in our front doors on South Ave. They come in and they meet our intake specialist, Everett. And Everett has, within about 4 or 5 minutes, he knows exactly where you need to be, who you need to see, what kind of services that you're going to get that day, and then he will send you to supportive services. We have a group of care managers who work in supportive services, and if you've never visited the Veterans Outreach Center before, the first thing they'll do is they'll do what's called an intake. They'll bring you in, they'll get you in. We have a computer system that we track everything because the VOC is a nonprofit. Everything we do is based on fundraising. We rely on fundraising and grants. And so we have donors that we have to answer to, and they want to see, what kind of numbers that our organization is getting in the Rochester area. So they'll get you in the system, and then you'll sit down with a or care manager for a short period, and then they'll determine, what your next need is. And it could be employment and training. We have a woman, Nina Seivert, who is our longest tenured VOC employee. She's been with us for over 20 years now, and she's a whiz at what she does. If you need a job, she's got multiple contacts in the Rochester community who are willing to hire vets. If you need training, they offer everything from forklift operator training, first aid, CPR, AED, security guard training. They have a whole bunch of different on-the-job trainings. Anytime an organization is looking to hire vets, the person that they would call and talk to is Nina, and then Nina will plug them in with our vets, and they do. They'll also house the ASVAB testing for any high school students who are interested in joining the military. We're a certified ASVAB, Armed Services Vocational Aptitude Battery Testing site, and anybody coming in can take the test. Am I doing that? They can take the test at our agency, and it's proctored by a VOC employee. Behavioral health. That behavioral health will be a two-part thing. We just put a new building on next to. It's behind that first photo you saw. It's behind that photo, and it's called the Peer Connection Center, the Steve Preston Peer Connection Center. Steve Preston was a longtime donor of the Veterans Outreach Center, to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars, and he passed away not too long ago. And in his memory, we built the Peer Connection Center. Our executive director, Laura Heltz, saw a need in the community for veterans to hang out at some safe location after hours. So we created the Peer Connection Center, and you'll see some pictures of that in a minute. But it's a spot where it's open every day from 3 to 11. And veterans can come in, just sit and hang out. There's couches in there. There's a pool table, ping pong table. There's coffee. There's always a fridge filled with bottled water. There's snacks for them. They do pizza and a movie night. They can watch TV. It's a place for them to just relax, decompress, and hang out with other veterans. And that falls under behavioral health. And I think it's in a slide later on, but our behavioral health manager, Mark McCloskey, he also oversees our vet court treatment clients. So we have veterans who occasionally get into a little trouble with the law, whether it's a DWI or some other arrest. And once the courts find out that they're veterans, they get case managed by our behavioral health team, and they go through a program with vet court. It's longer. It's faster to serve a sentence than it is to do vet court. But most veterans, I'd say probably 98% of them, decide to do vet court because there's a whole treatment program they can go through if part of their crime was because they were struggling with addiction and got arrested. They'll go through vet court, and then Mark oversees that as well through behavioral health. Wellness that's my domain, and I could talk all day long about wellness, but when that job became available, we didn't used to have it. As recently as a year ago, it didn't exist, and they saw a need for nature-based therapy, and they knew that I was an avid outdoorsman. I'm an Adirondack 46er. My whole family, my son became a 46er when he was 12. I'm a New York State licensed guide for camping, hiking, hunting, fishing. My family and I just hiked the Cranberry Lake 50 this summer. It ended up being 55 miles, but my goal is to get veterans on top of a mountain because that is my therapy. Being in the woods, especially being on top of a mountain, it's just so majestic. And I presented it was a slow roll because historically we didn't allow overnights, and the only way that I could bring this to fruition is for my executive director to allow me to take veterans on an overnight, because you can't just drive to the Adirondacks, hike a high peak, and then drive home the same day. So I started off with a hiking group. I take veterans out to the Equa Center on Wednesdays, and we do an open group out in the woods, and it's a short hike. It's very easy, but my long-term goal, as I said, was to get vets on top of a mountain. So I started a hiking group, and we're going to be hiking locally. I want to build up fitness level in the veterans who have a long-term idea that they'd like to stand on top of a mountain and see that. So to show her that I was serious, I took the test to become a New York State licensed guide. I'm going to outdoor leadership school this weekend on Saturday, and in December I'm going to up to Lake Placid for a week-long wilderness first responder school. So all the pieces will be in place. I just need the approval to take veterans and do an overnight. And then I just found out recently that she did pencil in overnights for her 3-year strategic plan. So it should be coming to fruition in the not too distant future. Yes.
Yeah, Jeff. Are all the 46 mountains that you've climbed, are they in the Adirondacks? And
Yes.
what is the highest peak?
It's Mount Marcy. Mount Marcy is the one over 5,000 feet.
Thank you.
Yep. And then we also have people who have satellite offices right inside the VOC. We have the VSA, Rochester Works. Rochester Works will occasionally provide interns for us in a volunteer capacity. We're lucky that we had one that came in as a peer support specialist in our peer connection center, and he liked it enough. He was volunteering a couple days a week as an intern through Rochester Works, and we just hired him on as a part-time VOC employee. So he'll be working 24 hours a week with us, covering Thursdays through Saturdays in the PCC. So we're excited to have him. The Bar Association, we have what's called Lawyer for a Day. A lot of the veterans that we serve are facing legal issues, and they don't know how to negotiate through all the bureaucracy involved. And we have lawyers that come in and volunteer their services during Lawyer for a Day, and they'll provide services to our vets for that. And Veterans Upward Bound, RIT, I collaborate with a guy named Dave Oliver. He's a general in the Army, and or Sergeant Major, sorry. He's a Sergeant Major in the Army, and I collaborate with him, and he just did a military history tour of Mount Hope Cemetery last weekend for us. Oh, so this is all the stuff that supportive services offer. So the front door to VOC, I told you about, they come into intake and they meet Everett. Bus passes, we coordinate with RTS, and veterans, all Rochester veterans can get bus passes that are good, free bus passes for 5 years. They used to be good for 3 years, now they're good for 5. So because that was one of the things we found, one of the biggest hurdles for veterans who are trying to seek services is transportation to and from, whether it's the VA on Calkins Road or a doctor's appointment or a group meeting in the city. Transportation has been historically a challenge for them. So we did coordinate with RTS, and they provided an unlimited number of 5-year RTS bus passes for vets. I talked about, we do have a female care manager who she oversees just female veterans, and I just coordinated with her within the last month to attend our Veterans Open group at Equicenter. We were doing that since April of this year, and I noticed that there was a lack of female vets. She's not a veteran herself, but she's definitely welcome to come out. So she came out, saw the group. It goes from 10 to 1 on Wednesdays. She saw the group, she enjoyed it, and now female vets are regularly attending. We didn't want them to think that they were being excluded or that it was a male-only event. Female vets are coming to that. So she's very instrumental in getting the female vets connected to a lot of the same services that our male veterans receive. Employment and training, this is where Nina shines. I worked with her a lot when I was in charge of the Richards House. Occasionally, one of the things that veterans need in order to get our ultimate goal at Richards House is for them to get stable housing. And a lot of times, one of the things precluding them from getting stable housing is they have a lot of debt, or they have had a hard time getting a job. So she'll do job readiness training. They'll do mock interviews. That she'll help them write their resumes. And then ultimately, if they're a good fit for whatever connection she has in the community, she'll plug them into a job. So without her, I mean, we would be at a loss. She just offers so much to help our veterans get back on their feet. Food safety. We do have a culinary class that happens several times a year. It's a 6-week program. We have an actual chef who comes in. It's a paid position, although he doesn't expect a lot of pay, but he comes in and he gives a culinary class, and we can have anywhere up to 10 veterans attend this class. And it happens in the Morale Center where I work downstairs. It's basically a renovated house, and downstairs from my office is a living room and a kitchen. And on culinary class day, we basically turn it into a classroom for him. They come in, it's a 6-week program. The first half hour, 45 minutes is classroom instruction for the meal that they're going to prepare that day. And then the second half is they actually prepare, cook the meal, and then at the end of each class, the veterans take home a meal. At the end of the program, when they graduate, they get their Serve Safe certificate, which is pretty much required anywhere you want to work in the food industry in Rochester anymore. If you want to get a job at a restaurant or a deli, everyone is requiring this Serve Safe certificate. So at the end of this training, you get a Serve Safe certificate, you get a cutting board and a set of chef's knives and a really nice cookbook. I talked to a few of the people who have graduated from the program, and they were already what they considered to be good cooks, but they said the stuff that they learned in the culinary class gave them the confidence to tackle some, different methods of cooking in the kitchen, using some different spices that they kind of shied from. And so it's a really cool program. We have had several of them get jobs afterwards. We had one woman who graduated from the program, and she loved the program and the Veterans Outreach Center so much, she came back to me and said, I need to give back to the VOC, and I'm a certified yoga instructor. Can you use my services? And I said, I can absolutely use your services. So now we have yoga as one of our offerings in the fitness center. Every Wednesday, she comes in for an hour on Wednesday and presents yoga. All right, so this is where I work. I oversee the fitness center, I oversee the food pantry, the clothing center, and then outdoor programs. In the Morale Center, where my office is, we have a hydro massage chair. Some organization donated this chair. It's about a $20,000 chair. I try to sit in it at least once a week on a Friday. It's amazing. Currently, we do not have a massage therapist who comes in. I know it's a tough ask because we are a nonprofit. We can't pay our volunteers, and I know that they'd be giving up a substantial amount of income if they were to come in and volunteer to do massages. But in the meantime, we do have the hydro massage chair. It is amazing, and that's one of the things. Veterans can come in, sit in a chair for upwards of 20 minutes. 15, 20 minutes is all you need, and when I get out of it, I feel so good. That's available Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. until 4:30 p.m. We have a hairstylist, Sandy, that comes in right down the hall from my office. I have a salon, and she comes in on Mondays and cuts hair. She has 6 appointments every Monday, and veterans call and they can schedule a haircut appointment, and then everything is free. Massage therapy. I have a want ad that I put out. We're currently looking for a massage therapist and an acupuncturist to come in and offer services. But we also have a Reiki master who comes in twice a month, and she has 3 appointments twice a month where she comes in for hour-long appointments and does Reiki for veterans as well. In the fitness center, it is set up for. So when I took it over, let me back up. If you've ever been to the Veterans Outreach Center, you probably saw the flag store. The flag store wasn't really generating the traffic that we had hoped it would. So Laura had a vision. One of the needs that kept coming back to us was veterans didn't have a place to work out, or if they had a place to work out, they had limited hours and they couldn't get there because of a job or because of a daycare situation or whatever it was. So they closed right around COVID. If there could be anything perfect having to do with COVID, it was the timing of closing the fitness center closing the flag store, because then our flag store was able to go online and they turned it into a fitness center. Bless you. And over time, it started off strong and then it kind of petered out. And I remember as the manager of Richard's House, we'd go to our all hands meeting, and the people who were running the fitness center were reporting their updates and saying they were all excited. We're getting 2 to 3 veterans every single day. And in my head, I'm thinking, you're open 10 hours. You're getting 2 or 3 vets a day and considering that a success. So fast forward, 3 years from then, and now I'm overseeing it. I'm like, oh, now I got to put my money where my mouth is. So the first thing I did was I did a poll. I polled the vets coming in, and I said, what do you guys want? I said, first thing, obviously, we're going to turn the locker room back into a locker room. During COVID, it got turned into a storage room. There was a 60-inch TV that didn't work that was just thrown in there. There was garbage in there. There was broken gym equipment in there. There was a 400-pound safe left over from when the flag store used to be there. And I decided, and all of the lockers had locks on them, and nobody knew who any of them belonged to. So I pulled the vets and I said, what do you guys need? And they said, well, we need to get rid of that rickety bench because someone's going to get hurt. It was a two-piece bench. Every time they put the weights on it, one of the pieces would rock. I'm like, all right. So I do have a couple grants that I operate under for wellness and fitness. And I said, I shot for the stars. I said, all right, what do you guys want? I said, give me the three best ones you can find. They wanted a commercial squat rack. They found a commercial squat rack. I pitched the idea. They approved it, and we got rid of the rickety bench and put a commercial squat rack in. I removed all of the debris from the locker room. Got two of our biggest, strongest vets to help me load the 400-pound safe onto a trailer so somebody could scrap it and turn it back into a locker room. We also have a shower in there and they were just storing linens inside the shower. So now we have a fully functional locker room, a fully functional shower, bathroom, a place where they could close the door, change in dignity, and utilize the fitness center. Now, today, we're getting anywhere between a dozen and 15 vets a day that come in to use our fitness center. So that we're really happy about. We've got guys that come in regularly. We have a punching bag in there. They can come in, they can box. We've got enough gloves where if they wanted to, they could spar. The floors are all matted. And work out. Some of them don't even come in to work out. We have a chess board where our fitness center coordinator sits, and they could come in and just play chess. A lot of times, the veterans that we're serving, they just want to talk to somebody. So they'll come in and they'll just sit down at the chair. There's a stool in front of the intake table, and they'll just playing chess with our fitness center coordinator. Outdoor programs. I've taken, as you can see in that picture on the far right, I had several opportunities to take veterans fishing, and as luck would have it, I caught the smallest fish of the day, but it didn't matter. The three people that you see in the photo with me had never caught a fish that size ever in their life. There was a period of time when I lived on Irondequoit Bay and I had my charter captain's license, and I was fishing all the time, so I'm used to catching fish like that. And when I found this opportunity, I'm like, I want other vets to see, how these fish fight and what it's like being out on the water. None of them had ever been out on the big lake. None of them have ever caught a fish that size. So I got to run 3 of those, and I coordinated with the Flower City Sportsmen for this. They have an event called Vets Day on the Lake, and I was able to take 10 veterans out to that where they got one-on-one on a bass boat with a member of the club, and at the end of the day, they had a barbecue catered lunch. Everybody got T-shirts, and they got to keep the fishing poles. So some of the guys showed up, had never fished, don't have their own pole, and the Flower City Sportsmen received a really cool donation of some really nice gear, and everybody got to walk away with a pole too. So. Lots of fishing trips. I do a couple trips to aerial adventures at the Bristol High Ropes course. They get to do the high ropes and zip lining out there. We do that twice a year. Hiking group. And in the winter, I don't want to become inactive in the winter. So I looked at my grant the other day. I've got till the end of December to purchase snowshoes and cross-country skis. And if veterans want to borrow this stuff, they could come in. So I'm gonna purchase a bunch of snowshoes and a bunch of cross-country skis, and we're gonna continue even in the winter. And if the weather is really, really bad, then we'll just go to the fitness center and utilize the cardio equipment in there. We do military history tours, walks of Mount Hope. We go to the Military History Museum. Pretty much anything a veteran. I poll the vets twice a year. I've done it once. I'm getting ready to do it again going into the spring season just to find out what vets want to do. Most of them that have any interest in the outdoors at all, most of them it's hiking and fishing. Outdoor cooking was one too. So I've already talked to one of the graduates of our culinary class who says that he would like to help with outdoor cooking. I also oversee the quartermaster, which is where they can get their food and their clothing. We have a food pantry where veterans are allowed to come once a week and basically go shopping. We receive a lot of food from FoodLink. We just did a food drive about a month ago, which was really cool. We had 40 in just a couple hour period. We had 40 different deliveries of people dropping off donations. So they can come in, they can shop. It's based on a point system depending on how many people are in their household. So we don't just supply the food for the veteran, it's for the veteran and their entire family. They come in, we close the door, they can shop with dignity. And because for some of them, it's hard. It's hard for a vet to ask for assistance in the first place. So we want the experience to be as seamless as possible. So we let them come in, we give them the bag. We explain the process. There's a whole food. I don't know if there's a picture of it in there. They have a food pantry that they can choose everything from there. And then if they have a clothing need, downstairs in our basement, we have a room that we renovated and turned into a clothing center. And that, especially this time of year, will experience a lot of traffic. We just had our annual Stars and Stripes Gala last week or this past Friday. And a lot of the veterans from Richard's house wanted to attend. They'd never been to it before. And, unfortunately, due to, being homeless, they don't have a lot of belongings. So they were able to come into the clothing center and all get outfitted with brand new suits for the gala, which was really cool. We had a guy, he came in, we had a donation from Hickey Freeman, and just coincidentally, it was a $5,000 suit. The guy showed up at the gala, and he was the best dressed person at the gala in a suit that he got in the basement of the VOC. So that was really neat. Behavioral health, he does suicide prevention and awareness, although that it was a suicide prevention picnic. I kind of took it over. I'll still call it the suicide prevention picnic, but it's outside. It's in a log cabin at Cobb's Hill. So I'm like, I'll do it. Let me take them, because then we can go. There's hiking trails behind the cabin, and I tied it all into wellness as well. So each year we're going to do, during Suicide Prevention Week, I'll take a group of vets out there, and there's geocaches up there. That's one of the things that we can do, take them on a hike. So this is Mark McCloskey. He oversees the behavioral health program, and then we just hired a new peer connection manager, Jarrell. He oversees the Peer Connection Center. He's got currently 5 now with the hiring of Tony. He's got 5 peer support specialists, and one of the requirements is that you actually get peer support certified. In the past, they've had failed experiments with hiring people who weren't peer support specialists or didn't get their certification, and so now they're in good hands. They have people who are experiencing or have experienced a lot of the same troubles that the veterans coming in to use our services are. And they're with them after hours. I work until 5 o'clock. Our agency is open till 4:30. Our fitness center is open till 5, but the PCC is open until 11 o'clock at night. And they're in there with staff. And vet court, and I talked about that. So how to connect? I'm going to leave a pile of business cards back there, but it's basically walk in. Some of it's word of mouth, but a lot of it is we do a lot of advertising. Anytime I have an event or I want to get the word out, I coordinate with a guy on our advancement team named Will. He's a wizard when it comes to creating flyers, and he's a social media genius. He knows how and when to put the messages out. Now, I'll just give you one quick example. I was having a difficult time getting people to sign up for Aerial Adventures. Aerial Adventures is about a $75 perk. And I was having a hard time getting the word out. I let the other managers know. We did a word of mouth. We went down to Richard's house. I presented down there several times. And I had 2 people sign up. I took my flyers to our stand down at the public market. I didn't get anybody. And I handed out 50 of the flyers. So I said, Will, could you do me a favor and put this out through your networks? He did. He did it at 4 o'clock on a Thursday. When I came in Friday morning, I had 25 voicemail messages and over 20 emails from him. I was only allowed to take 10 veterans on this, and I had a waiting list of over 20 vets. So I talked to my bosses and I talked to the people at Bristol, and I said, can I do 15? That way I could split it into two. So I did. I was able to ultimately take 15, and then I had 15 to go on the second one. But that was all in 12 hours. I came to work and my thing was lit up, and I turned it on and it said, you have 25 voicemails. And they were all people saying, hey, I want to sign up for. So it works. He gets, excuse me, he gets the message out, and it works. So anytime I have something, I'm getting ready to start up an art group and an open music group in the Morale Center. There was a vacant office that I got rid of everything that was in the office. I put some instruments in there. I'm getting ready to buy some more for it. And veterans will be able to come into the Morale Center once a week at a given time and play music. When I first started working there, I was working down at Richard's house. I had an opportunity to walk through North Campus through the Morale Center, and I smelled something that smelled great. Someone was cooking dinner, and I heard music, and I love live music. And I'm like, that's not a recording, that's live. And I walked in, and there were two guys playing guitar. There was a guy on the drums, and someone else that was playing the maracas. And it was called the Hangout. We still do the Hangout, but although it's morphed into where they just hang out, they sit in a chair and they talk. But I wanted to bring the music group back because we do have several musicians who are looking for a space to play. I have a guy that I take hiking and to open group at Equicenter he lives at Richard's house, and he's one of the most amazing musicians I've ever heard. And right now he found that the stairwell in between the floors has good acoustics. So that's where he practices, but there's nowhere for him to sit. If someone gets upset with him because the sound is coming down their hallway, he has to stop. So I had him in mind when I created the music group, and so now he's got a space that he can come and play music, and hopefully he'll encourage some of his friends who also play to come and join. We do have a website. And that's all on my business card. Veterans are welcome to go on the website. You can click through and find all of the services that we offer. But most of it is just coming in and checking it out. We're right on the corner of South Ave and Cypress, over by where Mark's Tex-Mex used to be, or John's Tex-Mex. And you just come in. If you're a veteran and you want to just check it out and see what's available, we serve everything from we've got guys that are getting fresh off active duty in their early to mid 20s, and last I looked at our census for Richard's house, we had four Vietnam vets living in Richard's house. So we've got guys that are old enough to be their grandfathers, kids that are young enough to be the grandsons, and everything in between. So there's something for everyone at the VOC. And if you're a vet, and I heard you guys have quite a few vets, I'm helping you guys advertise your organization. I did get the flyers from Susan. They're up. I've been talking about it. But if you want, come and check it out. Susan saw it. She told me she enjoyed it. So if you guys, you want to come, please feel free to give me a call and I'll give you a tour. That was it. Do you guys have any questions? Sure.
Thanks, Jerry. When someone is doing intake, is there anything that would identify that this person has a hearing loss? And if so, what do you do about it? I mean, in terms of referring that person.
That's not a question that we ask at intake, although I did put all of the in the room that they have to wait. They have all of the pamphlets for HLAA are in there, and they will know. But I've also told all the managers, if you experience someone who has hearing loss, and we do, I wanted to have a panel, but unfortunately they didn't want to speak on a panel. But we do have veterans with hearing loss. One of the big ones is just tinnitus. We have guys that I believe that's, if you get that, you're service connected at 10%. And then, and I've seen the one that I went on aerial adventures with, she has hearing aids. And I asked her and she's like, I can't speak in front of groups. I would love to, but I can't talk in front of groups. But right now, all the managers know to be looking for it.
It becomes a problem if you have a hearing loss and you're applying for a job.
Mhm.
So the idea that hearing be treated with hearing aids and whatever else they might need, the VA does provide that. If you have a communication disorder between yourself and your healthcare provider, that you qualify for hearing aids. I retired from the VA. I was a geriatric nurse care manager, so I have some of the nuances of that. But we have a hard time getting people who have hearing loss who are veterans to get hearing aids.
That would be through the VA with their medical. As you know, we don't, but we can connect them. As soon as we find someone's got hearing loss, we definitely connect them to the VA.
Mhm. How can we help you?
I want to help you guys. I'm after I met Susan, I became passionate about this, and she's like, if you even ever get a tinge of hearing loss, please let us know. I don't, but just spreading the word. I do have, if you know anyone who's an acupuncturist or a massage therapist, that's my immediate need right now. I've got flyers back there. I'll leave you with. My business card is back there. Just spreading the word, even if it's as simple as just coming to the VOC. If you wanted to do it as a group, I could take a group of people and give you a tour, because honestly, I could sit here and talk about this all day long. But until you actually see it and experience it, that's when it really, we've had people that, showed up at a presentation and pretty much the presentation is the same across the board. If my other managers were giving the presentation, this is the PowerPoint they would use. But a lot of times it's not until you actually come in and see, and when you see a veteran using the services, that's our biggest impact, and that's when people say, yeah, I want to do something to help out. I want to be part of that. Yes.
I have a question. I know obviously your funding is through the VA.
Some of it is.
Some of it is, right. And so, yeah, I was just going to say, in terms of volunteers and gifts in kind, what percentage of your budget is based on those resources?
I couldn't answer that, but we do have a woman whose whole job is that. Our advancement team, they do all the behind the scenes stuff. They're not client facing, so they don't see veterans on a daily basis, but they're the ones that organize and oversee our volunteers. They're the ones that organize and oversee our special events, including like the gala that we just had. And any of the donations come in, we have to fill out what's called a donor in kind form, and they all go to them. So they would be, and the woman who runs it, her name is Joan Brandenburg. She used to be on the radio. You guys might have remembered hearing about her. She's been working for the VOC for a long time now. She's got all those numbers. I don't have access to those numbers, but she could get that information to you. Susan.
We have at least one veteran with us, Ron Smith, and I don't know if we have any more, but I think it would be wonderful if Ron were to stand up and we were to acknowledge his service.
Well, we have Ron Smith, Jim McLean, Tony Marshall, Marco, myself, obviously. Anybody else? Jim McLean.
You guys.
Thank you for your service, gentlemen.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you all for your service.
Anybody have any more questions or any questions? Oh, hold on.
Hi.
Hi.
In my experience, VOC has addressed needs as they became obvious to the staff, and the staff is still growing. The facilities are still growing. I've been part of it since 1976, and we started with nothing, but we're addressing issues now that we never dreamed of.
Yeah.
So Thanks.
Yep, thank you. In the short time, I've been there 5 years. In the short time that I've been there, one of the things I've noticed is that the clients that we serve on average are getting older. When I first started at Richard's House, if we had a Vietnam vet, that would have been a very rare circumstance. And like I said, now we've got 4 living there. We try to be a one-stop shop, but honestly, there is no such thing as a one-stop shop. So we do have to coordinate with other agencies to get support. Because one of the things that we can't do is we can't provide nursing in the shelter. We don't have that would break our budget if we had to hire a doctor or a staff of nurses. So the good news is we do have a dedicated team working in Richard's House now who do have people that they can coordinate with to get the people. We have a senior citizen advocate that's her whole thing. That's all she does is to make sure they're getting the services they need. But we can't leave them in a homeless shelter unattended. We had one guy who was stage 4 cancer, and it became apparent that he wasn't able to care for himself anymore. So we had to discharge him to a higher level of care, but we couldn't provide it. That is a need. I don't know that we would ever be equipped to handle that, but for now, we do have the people and the resources who do know how to do that, and we can plug them in there. Yes.
Well, I was one of the ones who was fortunate enough to take a tour of the VLC. And I really went there just looking for someone to serve on our professional advisory committee. What an unbelievable experience. Laura recommended our speaker, Jeff Klein. And so I went to meet him. I'm sorry. And so I went to meet him, and he took me on a tour, and it was room after room after room, upstairs, downstairs. The clothing, I could not believe it's a store.
Yeah.
It's a whole store. I was just amazed at that. All the food that you had there, and it was well cared for. It was clean. It was neat. And I was absolutely amazed. And I just encourage anybody and everybody, if you want to have an enjoyable afternoon or a nice, fruitful morning, to take a tour of the VLC. It was just terrific.
Thank
We are
I'm-
so fortunate to have you, Jeff,
Thank you.
in our
I
community.
appreciate it.
And I keep waiting for you to have a hearing loss.
Yeah, me too. I hope that I never need the services myself as a veteran, but I am so grateful that we have that here in Rochester because there's really nothing like it anywhere else. We get people, VA knows our reputation, and VA sends us people from out of state to come and utilize our services because it is top notch, and we've got all the right people plugged into all the right positions now. Yes.
Can folks just drop in to
Sure.
look around?
Sure.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Anyone else? Yes.
Several of us went to a meeting that was over on Westfall. I believe it was the Veterans Center. Can you differentiate the outreach center from that?
So the VSA is a county-run program. So they fall under the county. We collaborate with them as well. Mostly the services that we would send a veteran to them for is if they're trying to get service connected, meaning they have some disability that they got out of the military with, and the military didn't acknowledge it while they were serving. And they'll come to us, say, I need help, whether it's hearing loss or PTSD, sleep apnea. It's a whole range of different things, and we'll plug them into the VSA. The VSA is a county-run organization, and we are a nonprofit.
Jeff, how involved are you with Honor Flight of Rochester?
I'm
And,
not.
and
but
how,
did
and
you-
how many vets that you serviced? Have they ever been on Honor Flight?
So I've talked with. Did you just go on it?
Yes, I did the last
So
one.
so you went with. Did you meet a guy named Joe Kinney? So his dad went. It was a guy that I served at Ground Zero with. Just went on it recently with his dad,
Yeah, that would have been October 26th and 27th.
Okay, yeah, they just went, and he said it was amazing. I've talked to a few guys. They're not at my age group yet, but everybody I've talked to, Joe's dad had a great time, and it was really cool that he got to go with Joe. Joe's a retired chief in the from the Navy, and they just went. I don't know if you know the name Lee Baggy.
Oh yeah, he was the leader.
So Lee was. There were three of us that went to Ground Zero after 9/11. It was me, Joe, and Lee, and we were there for 3 weeks. The building, it was still on fire when we were there, and I, by far the most meaningful thing I ever did in my military career was serving with those two.
Okay. If any of you have a friend, a spouse, a family member who's a veteran and they have not gone on honor flight, they can sign up. There's a waiting list, and they take it from World War II. We don't have many more of those, but veterans for the Vietnam, Korea, and they will contact you when they decide they're going to have their 3 flights in the spring, their 3 flights in the fall, and you can choose what they call a guardian. One issue is you cannot have your spouse as a guardian, but you can have a friend or son, daughter, anyone, as long as they're 70 years or younger. It's highly, I highly recommend it, that you try to get there, see all the memorials to your different services, and it's a great time. You'll be very glad to go. Any other questions?
I have a question from up here in Zoom. I'm in Zoom. I live in Spencerport, and 4 houses down from me is an Eagle Star house. Is that something that you're affiliated with, the Veterans Outreach?
No, we're not affiliated with Eagle Star, but Eagle Star is another veteran-run homeless shelter. And so how it works when a veteran experiences an episode of homelessness, they go to the VA, and the first person they have to talk to is the VA point of contact. Her name is Tessa. And Tessa knows the different facilities, whether it's Eagle Star in Spencerport or Farmington or the Veterans Outreach Center, or sometimes it's because they need inpatient services and they would get sent down to Bath. She knows all of the shelters inside and out, and she knows what the services are, where their best fit would be. Most of them come to the VOC only because, well, not just because we have all the services that we have, but also because we're conveniently located where the guys want to live, whether it's on the transportation line for their job or it's near where they're receiving services, whether it's they're going to group meetings. But yeah, Eagle Star is its own nonprofit. We have a working relationship with them. Occasionally a veteran will leave ours because it just turns out Richard's house wasn't a good fit for them. And I just want you to know, our job is not to make anybody homeless, but sometimes they just don't work out in our program. And if that's the case, they get discharged. But when we discharge them, we do find them another place to stay. We don't just discharge them to the street, and occasionally be Eagle Star. And Eagle Star will do the same thing. They might have someone that can't thrive in their program, and they'll get sent to us to try to make it in our program.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome.
You mentioned a group that took people fishing, and it was the Flower City something or other. What's something I never heard
So
of
it's a funny story, actually. It's a bunch of fishermen who were hanging out, fishing, drinking beer, and I think they all had bass boats, and they decided to turn it into a club. They moved away from the beer drinking club idea and more towards helping people. They still do it. It's a social club, but they have their big event every year is Veterans Day on the Lake, and they take 20 veterans out fishing for the day, and I get to take 10 of them, and then there's a VA representative that gets to take 10. But it's a private club. You have to be invited to join. There's 30 members, and I think 28 of them own boats, and 2 of them just like to hang out. So they'll go on a boat with someone else. But they raise money for vets as well, and they help out. So I just met with him. The guy's name is Chris Chan. I just met with him. We're already talking about next year's event, where we're going to hold it, you know, what they want to do for food, and it's a pretty cool organization, and I support their mission as well. Anybody else?
Well, if there's no further questions, thank you very much, Jeff. We
Thank you.
appreciate your
Thank you for having
program.
me. I appreciate it. Thanks.